second. Waiting for a minute. Trying to do a different setup today. Out here in my outdoor kitchen, which today doubles for a shaving spot. So anyway, I'm gonna use my Shiner Gold shave soap. I just kind of like this one. It smells nice. I'll eventually put a link in the description for that. I'm using my Art of Shaving brush, and today I'm using one of my double ducks. But some of the things we're going to talk about include sharpening stones and setting the blade to your face and kind of getting your angles right and that sort of thing. Sort of the flow of it, because I've had some questions about that. So let me start by wetting my face again. Got a little sink I set up out here in the outdoor kitchen. Kind of like it. Coming along nicely. I'll be doing some cooking out here before long. I just wanted to show it off a little bit. Get my brush nice and wet. Now, I don't have hot water out here, so we're kind of doing a cold shave, which I don't normally do. Glad to see somebody's on watching this morning. That's kind of fun. Who are you? If you feel like, you can drop a comment in there. Not shy. Drop a comment in there, say hello. Or if you don't want to, that's okay too. Now, one of the little cowgirls from my congregation was talking to me. She said she was talking to one of her friends. Some birds jumping around. There's a nest right up in here. I don't know if you can hear the little tweeting from them, but there's a nest up here. Mom and Dad go up there and feed them, and then they go kind of nuts when they hear that. When they see Mom and Dad, I don't know what kind of bird it is, just kind of a plain, nondescript kind of a brown bird. I'm glad they're there. Mom and Dad make kind of a simple little chirp. I'm gonna set you up over here in the sink. Forgetting the fact that I'm gonna need to rinse my razor as I go. So setting the blade to your face is just kind of, here's the thing. The important thing is don't hesitate. When you get on, get set, then go. If you hesitate or you rethink and you end up moving your blade across your face or across it, you're gonna slice yourself wide. So don't. Set it up on here. Here's completely flat. You want to come up a little bit, like so. See how we are? That's probably about a 25, 30 degree angle. And just go ahead and plow that right off of there. Anyway, little Debbie, she watches my videos and gets a kick out of them. Now, I thought it was all just cowboys in here watching. And apparently some of the cowgirls are watching too. She said she was talking to her friend. They were wondering if they could shave their armpits. Straight razor. I just kind of backed away. I was like, I got nothing for you there. I certainly wouldn't. If you want to try that, well, you're a tougher kid than I am. Mustache out of the way. And I poke my tongue out a little bit, give me a little something to push against when I'm right there in the corner. Now I think the cowboy who was asking and wondering about what the movements and the blade angle and stuff was kind of concerned about, you know, getting up here and getting the stuff that's tough and turning it one way and the other. That's all going to come with practice. This blade's going to need a little sharpening, I think. It's doing okay. You can always check by, here, let's see, I can turn it around here. Pull it off on your finger and you can see the bits of hair in there. If you think you're not cutting anything, you probably are. For me, when I can feel it dragging and kind of hacking at the hair, then I know it's time for me to work it on the stone a little bit. Working it on the leather just kind of straightens out that edge. Working it on the stone will get you a new edge. Those are the things to keep in mind. Pretty dry now. Anyway, you can see I got plenty on there though. Still cutting. Let's see. Do it like that. Get all that stubble on there. The thing that I find is important. You notice that I'm doing my first shave and it's kind of sloppy looking. I'm talking. I don't normally talk to people when I'm shaving. Just on Saturday mornings. And I'm giving some tutorials or primers about it. But when I'm just shaving all by myself, I'm quiet. Nothing to talk about. Time to concentrate. And it goes fairly quickly. So I don't generally have to be looking at my face and thinking, is there any shave lather left on there? There is. It coats even if the bubbles go away. Oops, don't do that. See, this is the one that's hard to get, is over here. You gotta kind of poke your elbow way out there. But the first go around, I don't worry about it too much. I get the big stuff off. The second go around, I come and I do the upward strokes. I'm getting the fine stuff. Howdy, Hopper Rocks. How you doing, buddy? Good to see you on board. Nice to see a familiar face. Let's see here. Now, can't be self-conscious if you're going to be shaving in public, so the funny faces you make are actually good for you. Exercises your face muscles. That's why old cowboys look so good. We're a handsome bunch, aren't we? I don't know if we really are or not, but chicks dig us. I'm just making that up. I got a wife. That's all good. I think she still likes me. She sometimes tells me that she does. Anyway, I didn't bring a stone out to really show what I'm doing as far as the shaving goes. Sharpening goes. But let's just talk about it for a moment. Some of what you need to do or concentrate on as you're sharpening up your razor. First of all, razors are built in such a way that they lay flat on the stone. They are hollow ground, which means that the spine of that blade is just high enough that when it lays flat on a stone, it puts the perfect angle on the edge, on the tip right there. See that? It will do that for you. Don't have to do any thinking about it. As far as how, no, none of that. Like you do with your kitchen knives, you just lay it flat on there and drag it. Now you drag it in such a way, in case you don't know, I'm sure most of you cowboys know already, but there's a lot of people who watch this station, so they might not know that you don't drag away, but you drag into the stone. You do it in such a way as like you're trying to slice a layer off that stone. Then you turn it around and come back. And as you're doing so, I'm gonna close this up because I'm gonna pretend my hand's a stone now. As you're doing so, you're coming across like so. What I do is usually they're about so thick, about 3 inches, about 2.5, 3 inches across. So it's not. Let me lay this out here for just a second. It's not usually wide enough that it covers tip to heel when you're dragging across your sharpening stone. So what I do, I'm gonna close that back up. Pretend we're shaving with pretend we're sharpening up the plastic now. Is what I do is I come across here and I start, well, I can't remember. I believe I start at the heel and I drag it at an angle across so that by the time I get to the other side of the stone, I'm at the tip. And I come across like so. Not all the way off, because if you end up going off the edge of that stone, you'll end up creasing the end, the very delicate blade that you're trying to shave with again. So you don't want to be doing that, but you want to keep it firm and get it to the point where every part of it gets covered, and come around and turn it the other way. You do this with a wet stone, of course. Wet and wet, it's one of those funny words to use a whet stone with the H in there. That's a description on the stone itself, but you do actually wet it with water, most of them. So it is also wet as well as wet. I can do a deep dive on that someday if anybody really cares, but they're just two different words describing the sharpening process. Okay, I digress. That's too much. Nobody's going to be listening to all that. So as you come across and you're doing that, one of the things that I find, and we'll talk about stones in just a moment, but one of the things I find is you want to start with, I don't even want to say a coarse stone, because we don't ever use a coarse stone on a fine shaving instrument. They're all very fine, but less fine. I use my least fine stone, and I will start with that, and I'll go across it a certain way, and it feels and sounds. I just want to say that it's kind of a perception, a sense that you have as you're going across. It feels and sounds a certain way, and then suddenly it seems, let's say, silkier, smoother. There's a subtle change as you go, and then I know that I'm finished with that stone, and I'll go to a finer one, and it'll do the same sort of thing. Not as pronounced, though. We're not, and of course, we're not going from a real piece of junk and trying to make a really good edge on it, because if you've got a razor that's a piece of junk, toss it. It's never going to be good. You cannot make them good. They've got to be good to begin with, and then you keep them good. So that's something else to keep in mind. As far as the stones themselves go, the ones that I bought, I went and looked on eBay, and I found a couple of different gentlemen that were selling shave-ready razors. They put a lot of time and attention into them, and they also sold some of the stones in order to keep them in good, fine working order. And I bought stones from them. They're very old. They are classics from probably the 50s, maybe 60s, and those are the ones that I use. If I were looking for ones that were modern, I would go in the 8,000 to 10,000 grit range. For those of you who don't know, and I assume that most of you do, but there's a lot of people who watch the channel, so let's say that those who don't know, the finer the stone, the higher the number, the finer the stone. In other words, a 10,000 grit stone, the way I understand it, and I might not be absolutely correct, but I believe that a 10,000 grit stone would take 10,000 pieces of that grit lined up to get to a whole inch. An 8,000 would take only 8,000. So you can get down all the way up to, I don't know, 20, 30,000, something like that, where at that point you're almost using glass. It's very, very smooth. It's not taking much material off at all. It's really just setting that edge. And here's something interesting to keep in mind. The actual edge that you shave with on a razor blade, and even a good kitchen knife, is fine enough that you can't actually see it. It is microscopic. The edge of that, oops, I'll put it over here. The actual edge, if you're looking at it and you're thinking, oh, I can see the edge, you really can't. You cannot see anything that's that tiny. Your brain goes ahead and tells you that's where it ends. I mean, there's a point where it ends, but you can't actually perceive where that little point comes without a microscope. That's how fine it is. So when you're dealing with things that are that tiny, you want to be precise, you want to be confident. I'm going to fly out here. You want to be precise and confident. I guess that soap smells good. Oh, well, what are you going to do? You want to be very precise, and you want to be careful as you go. If you end up running things off the edge, like one time I decided I had one that was dull. It just wasn't very good, and I wrecked it, I'll tell you that. But what I did is I came and I did it like it was one of my chisels or another tool in my garage, and I took it, I really rubbed on that thing like that, and I ended up coming off the side just a little bit, and I dimpled that blade. I don't think I'll ever get that right. I may play with it again someday when I feel like I've got that kind of time, but I don't think I'll ever make that blade good again. I'm pretty well wrecked. I do have another blade that's a piece of junk. I may bring it out one day and really show people how to sharpen. I can show all the wrong ways, because it was cheap and it was junk. I tried to shave with it once and put it aside. I suggest don't buy one in the first place. If you do, use it only for the purpose of just tearing it up. It's just for practice. If you feel like you need practice, go ahead and get yourself a $10 blade. It's never going to shave right. It's never going to shave good. It's always going to be a piece of junk. Keep that in mind. So anyway, I'm going to sign off here in just a bit. I feel like I'm rambling at this point, but a couple of things to remember from the questions I got this week on my channel. as far as working your face and where your strokes are, practice with them, but be confident. Once you put something up to your face, a piece of sharp metal like this, once you put it up to your face, don't decide, I'm trying, no, don't. Decide here. If you decide, oh, I'm not sure that's where I want to be, pick it off, reset, and then come at it again, right? As far as the angle goes, you can go dead flat on your face. Not going to be as effective. You're going to pull it off just a little bit, just, thickness of a couple of nickels or so. I think that's about where it was. Pull it off like so. When you start your stroke, though, be confident. Go from start to finish. No hesitation. Go ahead and get it in there. Do that. You will cut yourself. Don't be afraid about it. But minimize those cuts. Take it easy. Don't be too crazy about what you're doing there. Oh, I haven't rinsed my brush yet. Let me do that while I'm rambling on here. The other question we had, well, that was two of them, I guess. That was two of the questions right there that I just handled. It's the blade, the flow of your strokes, and the angle of your blade. Those are two important things. You'll get those right. Just practice with them. But again, be very cautious as you go. Don't ever hesitate. When you're on your face, it's time to do the stroke. Thinking about the stroke is something you do before and after. Don't do it while you're doing it. Just make the stroke when you're doing it. The other thing then was the sharpening. I would suggest if you're going to get new stones, modern stones, find the very finest ones you can, or get a set of them. There are several out there. I will eventually buy one of those, and I'll review it so that people can see it, and put a link in the description so you can get the exact same sort of thing if you want to follow along. So that's it for now. Oh, maybe, wait a second. Did bring my Firehouse Mustache Wax out. They're kind of a sponsor. They gave me this. I love their stuff anyway. I wouldn't promote them if they just came at me and said, here's some junky old mustache wax. You want to try it out? No, it's not like that. I was using it for years. I just called them there. That's John and Christina out there. I called them and said, hey, how about we partner up a little bit? You want to sponsor my channel? I'm a small channel. They're a small company. Kind of works out nicely. So this is the only mustache wax I use. It's the only one I ever have used. I don't know why I would ever change. It is wonderful stuff. I use the tacky mostly. Let's see if we can't get a little bit of smile on that mustache. You can go Texas Longhorn and get them out there, way out there, but mine like to curl up when I play with them anyway, so we'll get them up there like that. That's good. All right, I'll see y'all later. Stay erudite.